Back again to the review, and today we're going to talk about and review Rocky Balboa. And the story here, so in this film, Rocky, he's managing a good life, running this restaurant. Adrian's named after his late wife. And one night after watching this virtual fight where they pit, Rocky in his prime against the current heavyweight champion, Mason the Lion Dixon, it sparks an interest in Rocky to fight again. So, he decides to come out of retirement from one last match. And, that's the story here. But when you talk about Rocky Balboa, I can remember going back to '05, which I can't believe it's been that long. But, when they had announced that Rocky Balboa was happening, yeah, I know you want to be in the review here. Is that what it is? Come on. All right. She wants to say hey to the world. Okay. All right, let me review Rocky Balboa. But yeah, like I said, I can remember, like going on Stallone's Zone, which I don't know if that website is still around. I haven't been on there in so long, but I can remember going up there and just following every update with Rocky Balboa. Like every picture they would upload, every blog they would put out. I may have written a blog or two about, why I look forward to Rocky Balboa. I can remember that. And like going through some of the forums and just reading like different opinions and stuff about, Sly coming back. Because, at that time, there's a lot of critics against this. They were very critical of Sly because either he was too old, too over the hill. The odds were stacked against him. And again, there was a lot of critics out there that just made fun of Sly for coming back, for, returning as Rocky. But being what at the time so back in '05, I was 16. And again, I could just remember it's still fresh in my mind of, being really hyped up for Rocky Balboa. And even, before that, like, I had not seen a lot of, Sly's films. I mean, Rocky, obviously. There may have been some other movies that I've seen, whether it be Cliffhanger or Demolition Man, the Rambo movies. But, there were certain other ones that I had not seen yet, or discovered, whether that be Cobra or Over the Top, Judge Dredd, The Specialist, and so much more. Again, maybe at that point I had seen like all the Rocky movies, or I was really familiar, like I was familiar with, the first two more, or what have you. But that didn't come until later, where, again, I didn't, discovering Cobra, discovering Over the Top, discovering Lockup, Tango and Cash, and so on. And I think it was around that time that it just kind of like, the interest in Sly really started to snowball, because this was his comeback. And then, Rainbow 4 was another comeback. And that was back in, January of '08. That was around the time that I got into YouTube, discovering Mad Up Here, Rambo Raff. And I saw his review for Rainbow 4. And that's where it really picked up, because, I started to discover, again, Cobra, Over the Top, Lockup, Tango and Cash, some of these other movies, Demolition Man, what have you, and movies in general. So if I could really take it back, again, I've been here on YouTube on and off since '08, but it seemed like ever since Rocky Balboa, my love for movies like really began to become more apparent. Like it really, started to build and build around the time that Rocky Balboa was announced. And just becoming interested in Sly's comeback. And I can remember, in fact, seeing this twice in the theater. And I can't believe it's been 17 years. This year it'll be 17, but the fact that, I mean, before you know it, this movie's going to be 20 years old. And yeah, it's crazy. Okay, so, getting into the film here, the cast, Stallone returns as Rocky. Amazing performance from Sly. He does such a great job in the film. Burt Young is Polly. It was great to see Burt Young back. Of course, you don't have Talia Shire as Adrian. The character had died of cancer. But, it's one of those things that it doesn't bother me, but at the same time, I do wish that the character was still there. But I get what they were going for with the film here. You have Milo Ventimiglia as Rocky Jr., who I think, does a good job in the film. And, shortly after, he would be in the TV show Heroes, which I've only seen a little bit of that show, but, I do like him as an actor. I mean, I haven't seen much of Heroes, but, I thought he did a good job here in the film. You have Antonio Tarver as Mason the Lion Dixon, and as a character, he's okay. I would say he's definitely, the weakest antagonist here of the series. Like, I much prefer, Apollo Creed. I mean, he's a way better villain. Clubber Lang is a way better villain. Ivan Drago, definitely. Even Tommy Gunn I prefer more than this character here. And, Antonio Tarver was a real-life boxer. Apparently, before choosing him, I think Stallone reached out to Roy Jones Jr., but never returned a call back. But I thought Antonio Tarver, again, as a character, he was okay. An okay villain, antagonist, opponent, whatever you want to call it. I haven't really seen any of his real life matches. The performance is okay. In the film, he has, a little bit of presence, but, when compared to Apollo Creed and Ivan Drago, Clubber Lang, Tommy Gunn, he's not, say, a strong character, a strong opponent. But I get maybe they were trying to go for a little bit of, realism here. You have the character of Marie, played by Geraldine Hughes. And I thought, she was good in the movie. Her and Rocky had a good chemistry in the film that, I'm glad it didn't go there between Rocky and Marie, where, it was a relationship and all that stuff. They didn't try to make it like Marie into a love interest. I appreciate that. The whole idea and story where, Rocky sees this virtual fight. And I will say one thing about that, going back and rewatching this movie, that part of it, I mean, doesn't really hold up for me, the whole virtual fight. And I get this is back in 05 or 06, but it's just something about the way it was presented. I mean, I get it's part of the story, but maybe, I guess the visuals don't really, for me, hold up that well. But I love the story here, of, Rocky coming back and, proving that it's about, will over skill and, it's not over till it's over. And there's so many great moments, throughout the movie here, especially, with the Rocky character, where you have the scene where Rocky is talking to Polly about, getting stuff out of the basement. And, that's a great moment. And, Rocky talking with the board, the boxing board about, doing what makes you happy. And that's a great scene. And, of course, you talk about, Rocky's speech to his son, which, whenever I go back and rewatch that scene, it always gives me chills because it's such a great speech, that if that, I mean, I think about today, if that speech came out today, a lot of people's heads would explode. That's just I just imagine, all the people getting butthurt over that speech. But it's such an inspiring speech that, for me, is one of the greatest Sly speeches, or, speeches of the whole series, is that speech where he's talking to his son about, the world in all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how. I try to remember the whole thing, but again, it's a great speech. And then, you get into the training with Rocky in the movie where he's training for the fight, and you could tell, because of age, I get what they were going for with the training in this movie, where, of course, Rocky's older. He can't just go ham on the weights. He can't, it's not like back in Rocky 2 or, even Rocky 3 and 4, Rocky 4, he's in the barn and he's, doing these crazy workouts and stuff like that. This is, Rocky at 60, so they try to play off that in the training scenes, where he's getting, he's a little tired, but, he's still there. You have going the distance, which is great to hear. And that was great to see in the theater too. Rocky training for the fight. And I love the scene where he's, he finally gets the weight over his head and he throws it on the floor. That's a great moment. And then you get to the fight, at the end of the movie. And I love the fight. I thought it was well choreographed. But it's all, you can really, it all goes back to Stallone. I mean, he directed the film. Stallone directed the movie, and he was very hands-on with the fight and the choreography. And from what I understand, Stallone and Tarver, they're really going, like, hitting each other and stuff like that. But, the fight is very stylish and edited well. And even I like, some of the, little things in the fight where, Rocky would have, a flashback or two, Mickey, in his ear, you're an Italian tank, run over him, great moment there. And, of course, Rocky lost the fight, but it wasn't about that. I mean, it's about wheel over skill, proving everybody wrong that, Rocky still has it. He's still got it, and it's not over. It's not over until it's over, like he says in the movie. What is that from? The 80s? No, I think it's the 70s. That's another great moment. Another great Rocky line. But, like I said, I really enjoyed the end fight. And then holding up Rocky's arm, in front of the crowd. That was a great moment. Yeah, I mean, this to me, this should have been the end of Rocky. You didn't need the Creed movies. And I know I'm going to talk about those down the road. But for me, this is, I know because of Rocky 5 being a disappointment, that's why Stallone wanted to do this movie. He wanted to, end it on, a high note, have a great, conclusion for Rocky. And for me, this film did it. You didn't need the Creed movies. And again, I'll talk about those at some point here. But for me, this is the end of Rocky. Rocky Balboa, this is it. This should have been it. Stallone proved everybody wrong. He proved the critics wrong. Not only with this movie, but coming back with the Rambo 4. And, yeah, I mean, so I love this movie. And it brings back good memories of seeing this in the theater twice, and even before that, really getting hyped up, at the thought of, the announcement. I mean, making another Rocky movie, And just I think from there it just really snowballed my passion. It snowballed my passion about Sly and what he had done in the past, movies in general, and discovering a lot more later. Like, again, I've been on YouTube, since, well, on and off since '08, but I could take it further back a little bit to, again, this movie. And it was kind of this movie that was the catalyst for, my passion growing more and more, for movies. So, yeah, this movie means a lot to me. It's a great movie, and it was a great experience. And so, yeah, I love Rocky Balboa. Now it is time for my overall thoughts on Rocky Balboa. A great conclusion to the Rocky saga that harkens back to the first. A strong comeback and wonderful performance from Stallone with an inspiring message, and proved with Rocky Balboa that it's not over till it's over. And out of 5 stars, I'm going to give Rocky Balboa 4 stars. But that's it for now. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more.